Hey folks, really excited to talk a little bit about the changes that are coming with patch 9.2. Before we jump deep into the tier sets and double legendary discussion, I want to quickly just review our standard talent builds. So for Mythic Plus, tier 1 Devastator, tier 2 you're going with double time. Rumbling Earth is definitely an option, Stormbolt less so. I prefer to go with Rumbling Earth if I think that my group needs the stun, especially because of its AoE benefits. Tier 3, Best Served Cold. Tier 4, Crackling Thunder. Tier 5, Indomitable. We need all health we can get. Do not get away from Indomitable. Tier 6, Ravager is a go-to for me, and basically it complements a few of our specific legendaries pretty well, and we're going to talk about them. And then finally, Anger Management or Bolster. Anger Management's really good, effectively how it complements the reduction in cooldown time for Avatar and Shield Wall. Specifically, the cooldown reduction on Avatar, we're going to talk about that because it's going to create a bit of a loop with how it ties into our tier set bonuses. So stay tuned for that. Before we get there, as far as a defensive rating build, stick with Devastator, stick with Double Time. You're going to go with Booming Voice. Basically gives you increased damage reduction, or damage you deal. Go with Bounding Stride. Ultimately, you're in a raid, and mobility usually helps us out. Indomitable again for tier 5. Into the Fray starts to get a little more popular. Basically, you get that small minor haste buff, but there's a couple different options that are here. Avatar is another one you can play with. Does give your Thunderclap a boost, so there's a couple different ways you can play. And finally, you'd go Bolster, and this is a much more defensive build. If you want to go offensive in raid, Devastator, Double Time, Booming Voice, or Best Served Cold. I usually lean towards that one. I'd stick with Bounding Stride again, go with Indomitable, either Into the Fray or Ravager, and then finally Anger Management, and that's going to get you probably the most damage, or greater damage, depending on what your build looks like. Alright, so that's the fun from a talent build perspective. Now let's really dig into the good stuff, because there is some good stuff coming here. So overall, if you're not familiar, the warrior bonus that's coming for Eternity's End, the raid, is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. Basically, Eternity's End, the new raid coming as part of this upcoming raid, is going to do the following really fun abilities. When you get the 2-piece bonus, you're going to get a buff called Outburst. And how Outburst is going to work is that every 30 rage, you get a stack called Seeing Red. And Seeing Red continues to build up until you get 8 stacks. When you get your 8th stack of Outburst, I know it seems a little weird, but it's passive, so not that hard to actually set up. But when you get your Seeing Red buff, your next Shield Slam or Thunderclap is going to be 200% more effective. So you're absolutely going to clap with that, and that's going to be really satisfying. And in addition to that, you're going to be granted Ignore Pain. So this has seen a bit of a rework over the PTR since the patch initially came out to where it is just about before it goes live. That's going to be really satisfying. Now, that's with 2 of the 5 tier pieces. When you get 4 of the 5, you get the 4 set bonus. And this is where Warrior really starts to break apart. Avatar, once you get the 4 set piece, Avatar is going to increase your damage dealt by an additional 10%. Decrease the damage taken by 10%. So it's really satisfying, because ultimately today Avatar gives you 20% increased damage. So you're going to be 30% overall increased damage and a 10% damage reduction. And it's instantly going to grant Outburst when you cast Avatar. So when we combine this with Anger Management, okay, so we're going to be kicking out large amounts of rage here as part of our damage reduction, as well as our offensive spells. That's going to reduce the cooldown on Avatar. Then we're going to use more Avatar. Then Avatar is going to grant us more Seeing Red procs, which is just going to increase the damage from Shield Slam, Thunderclap, Ignore Pain, which ultimately just in turn reduce the cooldown of Avatar. So you can kind of see where this goes. We're going to ramp up really quick, and we're going to produce an incredible amount of damage here. It's going to be really satisfying. I think this is probably taking Warrior from somewhere where it's just like, just average, like not super satisfying, to like, oh man, this is going to be super thrilling. And I really believe that it will be. It's going to be a ton of fun the next little bit. Now, the only real covenant that started to separate itself with 9.2 coming to an end is actually the Necrolor Covenant. And it's because we're able to take advantage of Glory, which is the Necrolor Legendary. And what Glory does is it actually, for every 10 rage you spend, while Glory is active, or while Conqueror's Banner is active, which is our Necrolord ability, every 10 rage you spend increases the duration of your banner by half a second. And what this banner does is it increases a large amount of your mastery, like it increases your mastery by over 300. So being able to take advantage of that via Conqueror's Banner, have a 30% increase in your movement speed and 400 increase to your mastery, doesn't just benefit you, it benefits 2 of your nearest allies. So in raiding, that'll be usually your tank and then somebody in melee. In Mythic Plus, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's going to make melee that you're with a whole lot more effective. I know mastery's not the best secondary stat for a lot of classes, but it's going to make a huge quality of life difference here. So, okay. The tier sets are looking attractive. Necrolord's looking like it's a real solid win. Cool. We're going to be a tank that buffs some of the other classes around us, which, like, hey, we're already known for that due to our battle shout, right? And increasing the attack power of our larger raid group. But what we end up seeing is that when Necrolord Protection Warriors are using the Necrolord Legendary Glory along with Repraisal, that's when you're seeing a huge and incredibly fast-paced tank. And if you're not familiar with Repraisal, I'll show you really quick. So Repraisal is just a standard Protection Warrior Legendary, but when you use Charge or Intervene, you get granted shield block for 4 seconds, Revenge, and generate 20 rage. And Revenge, if you're less familiar with that, basically allows you to produce a whole bunch of extra damage onto your current target. So we're going to be producing 20 more rage. We're going to be able to have to spend less rage on shield block because our intervenes are going to be putting up shield block. All of this is just going to give us more rage so we can cast, so that we can get Avatar on a faster cooldown and reduce its overall cooldown, which is only going to increase the amount of rage that we're producing, which is only going to bring Avatar back up faster and ultimately allow us to do more damage. So when we get to the point where we're getting Revenge up and Avatar at the same time, it's going to make a huge difference. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like. But I think for the most part, we're all going to be super satisfied with where Prot Warrior is going to play. And specifically, Prot Warrior is going to benefit and look really well in 9.2, but also as Fury Warrior. Both of them will actually have their best covenants be Necrolord. So keep an eye. I think Fury Warrior honestly is going to be the top melee DPS in Raid. It'll be fantastic in Mythic Plus, and if you line it up with Necrolord, it'll be probably your off-spec DPS class if you're willing to push progression content and get your Prot Warrior over to Necrolord. So keep that in mind. I think it's going to be a ton of fun overall. I don't think Kyrion's dead. I don't think it's like totally sell the farm. It's just not going to be as powerful as what we're seeing here out of Necrolord. Necrolord's time to shine is going to be in 9.2. Alright folks, that's my thoughts right now. definitely interested in hearing your other considerations that are out there. I think the tier bonuses are in a great spot. I think they're going to allow us to succeed at a really high rate and make our class feel a lot more fun and a lot stronger than it has throughout all of Shadowlands. So I hope we're able to knock it out and that, yeah, overall the community enjoys it as much as I am. Okay, folks, I'll let it go there. Talk to you soon. Peace.